The Legend of Jigong Chapter 41.
We open on a scene that feels completely disconnected from the heavy family drama that's going to come later. We are dropped into a bustling marketplace, a bazaar, basically.
Yeah, lots of noise, lots of chaos.
And we meet two characters, Zhao Fu and Zhao Lu. And they are trying to sell an object they call a dog-pressing stone.
A very specific name.
Right. Now, visually, this is just a heavy, unremarkable rock. But their asking price is what stops the narrative in its tracks. They are demanding 10,000 taels of silver.
Which is just an astronomical number. To understand the absurdity of this, we really have to look at the dual currency system of the era.
Okay, let's unpack that.
So, the text operates in a world where everyday transactions, buying a steamed bun, a cup of tea, maybe a cheap pair of shoes, those were conducted using copper coins.
Like pocket change.
Basically, they were often strung together on a string through a square hole in the middle. But for large-scale wealth, the standard was silver bullion, and that was measured in a weight called a tael.
So it's not a minted coin with a face on it, right? It's literal chunks of silver weighed out on a scale.
Precisely. You'd actually have to cut the silver and weigh it for specific transactions. And a single tael of silver was a substantial amount of money. It was enough to sustain a peasant family for quite a long time.
Oh, why?
So 10,000 taels is not just wealthy, it is generational, estate-buying, regional influence money.
The billions of dollars today.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
It is the kind of wealth that alters the political landscape of a whole town. And these two men are asking for it in exchange for a rock.
Which naturally attracts the absolute wrong kind of buyers. Two men walk up, they examine this supposedly 10,000 tael object, and they don't see a mystical artifact, they just see a heavy object.
They're very practical.
So practical. They explain that they've just been given a dog, the dog keeps escaping, and they literally just need a heavy anchor to chain it to.
Right.
So they counteroffer.
Yeah.
And they don't offer 1,000 taels or even one tael. They offer 100 copper coins.
The plunge in valuation is it's astronomical. It's transitioning from the currency of elite power brokers down to the loose change you'd find in a beggar's bowl.
It's fascinating because it completely strips the object of its perceived mysticism. I mean, imagine finding a massive rusted iron gear from an ancient clock tower, right?
Okay.
And you drag it into the market, convinced it belongs in a museum, demanding $1 million. And a blacksmith walks by, looks at it, and says, well, I need something to hammer hot metal on. I'll give you $5 for the scrap iron.
That's the exact dynamic.
It's a complete clash of realities.
And the buyers are entirely unfazed by the absurdity of the asking price because they are only evaluating the object based on its utilitarian function in their immediate reality.
They don't care about the magic.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They have a dog, they need a rock. The 10,000 taels is just background noise to them.
So Zhao Fu and Zhao Lu are completely paralyzed by this. They don't even know how to process a counteroffer that low. It's almost insulting.
Oh, it's deeply insulting.
But before a fight can break out, the legendary monk Jigong intervenes. And his entrance is incredibly specific. He doesn't walk in as a solemn peacemaker. He walks in laughing.
His laughter here is a reaction to the sheer absurdity of human greed crashing into mundane reality.
So he steps up and tells the sellers to just take the 100 copper coins. He says the stone will find its true owner. But surely that's just incredibly frustrating for Zhao Fu and Zhao Lu.
Oh, and Jigong makes the men split the 100 coins 50 each and explicitly states he won't take a cut.
So he removes his own financial motive.
Completely. He is realigning them with reality. The transaction isn't about commerce anymore. It's about the universe asserting its intended design over human fantasy.
He essentially acts as this karmic auditor, clearing away the fake value. But his victory lap is incredibly short-lived, because just as this bizarre negotiation resolves, the atmosphere of the text violently shifts. We get a sudden commotion in the street.
The prose really accelerates here. A wave of panic ripples through the marketplace. The crowd starts yelling, warning everyone to scatter.
They are fleeing from a woman they call a mad woman, shouting that she is attacking people. And Jigong's reaction completely changes. The laughter stops. The text notes a very specific physical gesture. He taps his palm 3 times.
That physical detail is doing some heavy lifting. Tapping the palm or calculating on the joints of the fingers is a classic trope for mystical calculation.
Like a fortune teller.
Similar, yes. It relates to the I Ching and divinatory practices. It represents the monk tapping into the unseen energetic architecture of the moment. He is pulling data from the spiritual ether.
So he finishes that rapid calculation and immediately announces, I cannot ignore this. This is out of hand. He clearly recognizes a massive anomaly. And then, through his eyes, we finally see the source of the panic.
And the visual description of this madwoman is completely at odds with the terror she is causing.
The juxtaposition is stark. The text uses highly refined poetic language to describe her, which sharply contrasts with the dirt and chaos of the street.
It's very deliberate framing.
The phrase used is autumn water for spirit, white jade for bones. She is in her 20s, wearing a simple blue skirt and shirt. It paints a picture of this ethereal, almost fragile beauty.
Right.
But her physical presentation is ruined by her behavior. Her long black silk hair is completely unpinned and wild, and she is running through the dirt, screaming at the top of her lungs, demanding that the people in the street follow her to the Western Paradise to see the Buddha.
Her demands reveal the specific nature of her mental break. The Western Paradise refers to the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha.
What's the significance of that?
In Mahayana Buddhism, the Pure Land is a cosmological realm, completely free from suffering. It's a place where enlightenment is highly accessible, and it's far removed from the cycle of rebirth and worldly pain.
So it's an escape.
Exactly. By screaming for people to follow her there, she is broadcasting a desperate, profound desire to escape the physical world.
But she isn't just preaching, she is frantic, which makes Jigan's next move so baffling. I mean, a normal authority figure might try to restrain her or calm her down.
Or call for help.
Right. But Jigang looks at her, shouts, "Good, step aside, I'm mad too." And he starts sprinting down the street.
It is a brilliant psychological tactic within the context of his character.
But is it just a tactic? When we read this, we have to question the nature of the word madness here. Is she actually suffering from a clinical psychological break? Or is this madness the only physical reaction left for someone who has experienced an unbearable reality?
The text heavily leans into the latter. In classical Chinese narratives, madness frequently serves a dual purpose.
Okay, what are they?
First, it can be a protective fracture, a way the human mind shatters to shield itself from trauma, that the societal rules just do not allow a person to process normally.
That makes sense.
Alternatively, it can be a manifestation of seeing the world too clearly, recognizing the suffocating emptiness of social strictures, which looks like insanity to those who are still trapped in the system.
So when Jigan says, "I'm mad too," he is acknowledging her reality.
Exactly. He recognizes a fracture that he can relate to. He uses his own archetype, the crazy monk, as a bridge. He mirrors her state to enter her psychological space because conventional logic just cannot reach her anymore.
And the moment he runs after her, the narrator essentially grabs the camera and yanks it away from the street. We don't see the resolution of that chase right away.
No, we get a huge pivot.
Yeah, the story plunges us into a deep flashback. To understand why this beautiful woman with jade bones is screaming in the mud, we have to travel back to the gilded cage that forged her.
We shift from the chaotic public sphere of the market to the highly controlled, hyper-structured private sphere of Kunshan County. And we learn the madwoman's name is Zhao Yuzhen.
We meet her parents. Her father, Zhao Hamming, courtesy named Jingbo, is 58 years old. His wife is 60. They are local gentry.
Which means a lot in this context.
Right, which means they are incredibly wealthy, they hold massive estates, and they wield significant social power. But they have a glaring vulnerability in the context of their era. They have no sons.
A huge issue at the time.
They have only one child, their 18-year-old daughter, Yu Zhen, and the narrator specifically refers to her as their pearl in the palm.
Being the pearl in the palm is a double-edged sword of the highest order. On one hand, it denotes immense love, privilege, and protection. She lacks for nothing materially.
Right.
On the other hand, it signifies an overwhelming concentration of parental expectation. In a deeply patriarchal society, a daughter cannot carry on the family name or perform the crucial ancestral rites.
So the parents are stressed.
Extremely. Because she is their only child, all of their anxiety about their legacy is funneled directly into her upbringing.
The text details her education, and it is intense. She isn't just literate. She is a scholar of her own subjugation.
That's a great way to put it.
The text explicitly lists her curriculum. She has mastered the text on virtuous women. She deeply understands the 3 obediences, 4 virtues, 7 chastities, and 9 resolves.
The 3 obediences are the bedrock of female existence in this philosophical framework.
What are they exactly?
A woman must obey her father before marriage, obey her husband during marriage, and obey her eldest son in widowhood. The 4 virtues, it's female virtue, female speech, female appearance, and female work. It dictates that she must be morally unblemished, speak softly and infrequently, dress modestly to avoid attracting any attention, and dedicate her physical labor solely to the household.
But the text says she also mastered the 7 chastities and 9 resolves.
Yeah.
That implies a level of extremity beyond just being quiet and obedient, doesn't it?
It does. While the 3 obediences and 4 virtues are standard Confucian doctrine, the expansion into chastities and resolves speaks to the intense, almost militant cult of female virtue that really peaked in the Ming and Qing dynasties.
She is essentially trained to be a martyr before she has even lived.
Precisely.
And understanding that intense focus on purity explains her father's bizarre behavior. Zhao Haiming has a reputation for violence when it comes to matchmakers.
He's terrifying to them.
He doesn't just reject suitors, he curses the matchmakers out and physically throws them into the street. He is fiercely paranoid that every man who asks for her hand is a playboy, a scoundrel, or just trying to get their hands on the family wealth.
And his paranoia is a direct byproduct of the system. If he makes a mistake, she has no recourse. None.
It takes an intervention from a relative, a former military man named Zhao Guming, to snap Haiming out of his paralysis. Guming visits, they share a drink, and Guming delivers a devastatingly practical assessment of the situation.
It's a very blunt conversation.
He points out that Haiming is 58, his wife is 60. He literally says, "Are you going to live another 58 years? What happens when you die? Is your daughter going to wander the streets to find a husband on her own?"
Guming is forcing Haiming to confront the timeline of human mortality against the timeline of societal obligation. Haiming's protection, no matter how fierce it is, expires the moment he dies. And an unmarried woman without male protectors in this society is in grave danger of total ruin.
This intervention reveals something deeply sympathetic about Haiming. He isn't a tyrant trying to keep his daughter locked up for his own amusement.
No.
He is terrified. He tells Guming, "I don't care if the boy is rich, we have money. I only care about his character, his scholarship, and his potential." He is desperately searching for a safe harbor for his pearl before the storm comes.
He is operating entirely rationally within a system that offers 0 safety nets. He needs a man whose moral compass is as flawless as his daughter's education.
And Guming says he has the perfect target. He introduces the name Li Wenyuan. Wenyuan is 18 years old. He's the younger brother of Li Wenfeng, who is a tremendously wealthy and powerful local scholar.
A very prominent family.
But Wenyuan isn't just relying on his family's money. He is a prodigy. He took first place in the preliminary examinations. The entire county refers to him as a talented scholar.
The symmetry here is deliberate. Yu Zhen is the zenith of female virtue. Wen Yuan is the zenith of male intellectual promise.
The golden couple.
Exactly. In a society stratified by scholarship, achieving first place in the preliminary exams means he is marked for greatness. He is destined to become a high-ranking government official.
Haiming's intrigued. Of course, he trusts no one. He demands a meeting, and he subjects Wenyuan to a specific kind of test. He asks the young man to write a couplet in calligraphy. Now, why calligraphy? Why not ask him a difficult trivia question about history or politics?
Because in classical Chinese culture, calligraphy is considered an involuntary polygraph test of the soul.
That's a fascinating way to describe it.
It really was viewed that way. The way a person handles the brush, the pressure of the ink, the fluidity or hesitation in the strokes, these elements are believed to reveal a person's true character, their moral fortitude, and their inner cultivation.
So you can't fake it.
Exactly. A scoundrel might memorize a clever answer, but his brushwork would allegedly betray his lack of discipline.
Wenyuan takes the brush, and his handwriting is reportedly magnificent, elegant, forceful, and clear. But the actual words he chooses to write are what stop me cold.
It's very poignant.
He writes, "When you need to use books, you regret reading so few. If you haven't experienced a matter, you don't know its difficulty."
It is an aphorism demonstrating profound humility for an 18-year-old prodigy.
But look at the foreshadowing. If you haven't experienced a matter, you don't know its difficulty. He is writing this sentence for the father of a woman who is about to experience a tidal wave of unimaginable difficulties.
Right.
He is acknowledging the limits of theoretical knowledge right before the brutal reality of their world crushes them both.
The author is layering tragic irony into the very foundation of their marriage. They are celebrating his philosophical wisdom, completely unaware that the philosophy is a warning.
The marriage goes through. It is lavish. They bring a massive dowry, and for one entire year, the text tells us they are blissfully happy.
The perfect match actually worked.
It did. But in this society, a talented scholar cannot just sit at home and be a good husband. He must prove his worth. The imperial exam arrives.
We must deeply examine the mechanics of the Kiju, the imperial examination system, to understand why the following events are so catastrophic.
Let's do it.
The exams were not merely a test of knowledge. They were the singular, exclusive mechanism for upward mobility and social validation for men of his class.
There was no plan B, right? You couldn't just decide to be a really successful merchant instead.
No, absolutely not. For a family of this status, becoming a merchant would be a significant social downgrade.
Really? Even with lots of money?
Even with money. The social hierarchy placed scholars at the absolute top, followed by peasant farmers, then artisans and merchants at the very bottom.
Because they just moved goods around.
Right, because merchants were seen as profiting off the labor of others without creating anything of moral or physical value. For Wenyuan, his entire identity, the respect of his powerful older brother, and the justification for his marriage to Yu Dizena hinged entirely on passing this exam.
And the text explicitly outlines the flaw in the system. It states plainly, you don't need your essays to be the best in the world, you just need them to please the examiner. It highlights the total subjectivity of the grading.
The conditions were brutal, too. The candidates would be locked into tiny, isolated cells for days.
Like literal prison cells.
Basically, they slept, ate, and wrote in these tiny cubicles, writing rigid, highly formatted essays, the infamous eight-legged essay. But ultimately, a single examiner with his own biases, preferences, and political leanings would read the paper.
So it's a lottery.
Pretty much. If the examiner didn't like your style or your interpretation of a specific Confucian doctrine, your genius was irrelevant. You failed.
And Wenyuan fails. The golden boy, the prodigy who aced his preliminaries, doesn't make the cut. But what happens next is where the story shifts from a social critique to basically a psychological horror story.
Yes, the reaction is extreme.
Wenyuan doesn't just get sad. He doesn't catch a physical disease like tuberculosis or a fever. He literally dies of a broken ego.
The text describes a total somatic collapse driven by shame.
He falls into a profound depression. He stops functioning. He constantly mutters to himself that the examiners were blind and failed to recognize his talent. He wastes away and dies of disappointment. How does a societal system wire a human brain so tightly that failure results in spontaneous physical death?
Because the system demanded total psychological colonization. Wenyuan didn't just fail the exam, his entire justification for existing was invalidated.
That's so heavy.
When you are raised to believe that your worth is mathematically tied to your academic output and that output is rejected, the cognitive dissonance is lethal. He had no internal framework for failure. His body gave out because his mind encountered an unresolvable error in the programming his society had installed in him.
He dies, and the fallout is apocalyptic. We get this visceral scene where Haiming and his wife rush to the Lai estate upon hearing the news. When they see Wenyuan's body, the elder parents completely lose control.
It's pure devastation.
The metaphors used to describe their weeping are massive. It's like falling from a 10,000-foot tower or a boat's cable snapping in the roaring Yangtze River. It is total, unchecked emotional destruction.
And the elders are permitted this chaotic expression of grief. It is culturally acceptable, even expected, for them to wail and lament the inversion of the natural order.
The young dying before the old.
Exactly. It's a cosmic tragedy in their worldview.
But then the camera pans to Yu Zhen, the 18-year-old widow, the girl who just lost the husband she loved, the man who was supposed to be her entire future.
Right.
She is standing over his dead body, and she does not shed a single tear. Her face is a mask. Her father, in the midst of his own wailing, stops, looks at her, and is horrified. He demands to know how she can be so cold-hearted.
Her stoicism in this moment is the ultimate manifestation of those 9 resolves she studied so diligently. But the specific biological reasoning she provides for her suppression is what makes the scene so chilling.
She turns to her parents and says, I am internally torn to pieces. My insides are ripping apart. But I am 6 months pregnant.
We have to look at the traditional medical and cultural beliefs surrounding pregnancy in this era.
What do they believe?
There was a strong belief in the physical danger of unchecked emotion. Extreme grief, wailing, and the violent physical convulsions of crying were believed to cause the body's internal energy, the ki, to violently rebel.
So crying could physically harm the baby.
Yes, this rebellion could easily induce a miscarriage.
And a miscarriage in this exact moment wouldn't just be a medical tragedy. It would be a total systemic failure of her societal duty.
Exactly. She explains that if she cries and loses the child, she destroys Wenyuan's only remaining bloodline. In the framework of the 3 obediences, she is transitioning from obedience to her husband to obedience to her son.
Because the husband is gone.
Right. The unborn fetus is the only anchor she has left in the social hierarchy. If she fails to produce an heir, she is a childless widow, she's a financial burden, and socially invisible. If she produces a son, she eventually becomes a respected matriarch.
She views emotional release as a profound moral failing. She literally calls the act of crying for her dead husband unfilial because it threatens his legacy.
It's a tragic calculation.
The sheer willpower required for a teenager to neurologically override her own grief to preserve a potential male heir is terrifying. She is weaponizing her own trauma to survive the system.
And she succeeds. She gives birth to a boy in the shadow of this immense grief. They name him Mo Langer, or Mo Schenger, which translates to a posthumous child.
Wow.
He is the living, breathing reward for her impossible stoicism.
But she doesn't stop there. Once the child is born, Yu Zhen makes a radical decision. She imposes a total lockdown on her own life. She moves into the east courtyard of the estate, and she refuses to leave. For 3 years, she lives in complete isolation.
The spatial dynamics of the Chinese estate are crucial here. Wealthy compounds were built on a north-south axis with multiple walled courtyards.
How are they laid out?
The outermost courtyards were for business, for men, for guests. The inner courtyards, the gi, were strictly for women and family. They were architecturally designed to be inaccessible to the gaze of outsiders.
So you couldn't just wander in.
Absolutely not. And Yu Zhen retreats to the deepest, most fortified section of this architecture.
She enacts a rule that no boys or men are allowed inside her courtyard without explicit, rare permission. She removes herself from the world of the living to become a physical monument to widow chastity.
It's her ultimate statement.
She is proving to everyone, her powerful brother-in-law, her parents, the servants, that she is untouched, pure, and singularly devoted to raising the heir.
From a narrative perspective, the author has spent an immense amount of time constructing this fortress. We have witnessed her psychological conditioning, her refusal to cry, and her self-imposed imprisonment.
It's been chapters of build-up.
The author has built an impenetrable monument of virtue. But in storytelling, a wall that thick is only built for one reason.
To knock it down?
Exactly, to make the impact of its destruction that much louder.
We are sitting on a narrative fault line, and the pressure's building. 3 years into her isolation, Yu Zhen makes a calculated political move. Her powerful brother-in-law, Li Wenfang, is turning 30. It's a major milestone.
Right, 30 is a big deal.
She asks her parents, who are visiting, to attend the birthday banquet as her proxies, bearing gifts.
It is a vital strategy. She cannot attend herself, as that would violate her isolation, but she must maintain political capital with the head of the Li family to ensure her son's future inheritance and standing.
The text describes the birthday party, and the scale of it is staggering. This isn't a family dinner. It's a summit of the regional elite. The imagery used is white horses and red tassels, denoting the arrival of high-ranking officials and wealthy scholars.
It's a massive flex of power.
Every person of consequence in Kunqing County is crowding into the outer courtyards of the Lai estate.
The author is creating a deliberate, high-contrast environment. In the front of the estate, you have noise, power, alcohol, networking, and intense male socialization.
And in the back,
Deep in the back of the estate, you have the east courtyard, perfectly silent, dark, and inhabited only by a chaste widow and a toddler.
the party burns late into the night. Eventually, the officials leave, the red tassels depart, and the estate quiets down. We get this incredibly peaceful, intimate scene. Li Wenfang and Haiming retreat to the study.
It's very calm.
The text says they are slowly sipping wine and chatting. The chaos of the day is over. The reader's heart rate is allowed to drop.
The calm before the storm, the vulnerability of a quiet moment is the perfect place to drop a bomb.
And the bomb is delivered by a terrified maid. The door to the study flies open. A maid rushes in, shaking, holding a blown-out lantern. She can barely speak.
The information she delivers is fragmented, which spikes the anxiety for the reader and the characters. She explains she was walking through the estate to run an errand, which required her to pass near the heavily guarded east courtyard.
Yu Zhen's fortress.
Exactly. And the maid says that in the darkness, she saw a dark shadow moving near the walls of the courtyard. She was so startled she dropped her lantern, plunging the path into pitch black, and she ran for help.
A shadow. Just the mere suggestion of a presence near that courtyard shatters the tranquility of the study. Because if that shadow is a man, and if that man has access to the east courtyard,
It's unthinkable.
Everything she suppressed her grief for is instantly vaporized.
The social stakes are existential. A scandal of that magnitude wouldn't just ruin Yu Zhen, it would politically and socially devastate both the Li and Zhao families. Wenfeng and Haiming understand this instantly. There is no time for discussion.
They grab a lantern. The powerful brother-in-law and the paranoid father march out into the darkness, heading straight for the sanctum. They arrive at the heavy wooden door of the Yi's courtyard. They bang on it. The maid shouts, "Second madam, open the door."
This is the moment where the architectural buildup pays off. Every rule of the 3 obediences and 7 chastities is hovering over that door.
You hear the footsteps inside. You hear the lock click. The heavy door swings inward. And out of this sacred, fiercely guarded, male-free sanctuary, a completely naked man comes running out into the night.
It is a paralyzing visual. It defied all the logic the text has spent the last chapter establishing.
I physically stopped reading and just stared at the page. I mean, after all of that suffering, after the agonizing restraint over her husband's corpse, a naked man bursts out of her room.
It's jarring.
Haiming and Wenfeng just stand there in the lantern light, letting out a horrified cry.
Yeah.
And the excerpt just cuts to black. End of chapter.